My name is John Chubb, and I pastor Papago Buttes Church of the Brethren in Scottsdale, Arizona. I arrived here in May 2021 and wanted to spend the first year or so landing well with trying to get into a good rhythm for planning Sunday services, getting to know the congregation, and seeing what a typical year here looked like. During that time, I realized we had a wonderful core group of people who called this their church home. We're smaller in number, but the people here genuinely seem to love the Lord and love each other and are trying to do the right thing. I also noticed that we barely got any visitors. Despite being in the middle of a neighborhood, along a very busy street, we didn't really have that many people we didn't know checking us out on any given Sunday. Around the time I started to notice that, we ended up having a church yard sale with the proceeds going to help some of our youth get to the National Youth Conference in Colorado. I love yard sales and wasn't expecting any sort of amazing turnout, and yet we found our parking lot full during those 2 days with literally hundreds of people looking over our stuff, trying to score a good deal. And that's when the light bulb really went off for me, and that, hey, we can start to do more things like this and try to connect with our neighbors and the general community. Our leadership team ended up having a one-day retreat shortly after this where we dreamed and discussed an intentional event we could pull off. We landed on a trunk-or-treat event around October, which gave us several months to plan it out. I assumed people would want to show up for something like this, but wanted to make sure when they arrived, it felt like we had planned out something exciting that they would want to spend some time at. And admittedly, this would probably cost some money. That's when I found out about the Brethren Faith in Action, as well as the Jesus in the Neighborhood grants. So I applied for some grants. I mapped out a solid game plan for advertising, including spending money on marketing flyers, outside signage, and more intentional Facebook advertising. We invested in renting a bouncy house with cotton candy and popcorn. I wanted my people to participate with their cars and not feel a financial burden to have to buy candy, so we loaded up on that as well. The Brethren Faith in Action and Jesus in the Neighborhood grants helped to cover all of these costs. Everyone showed up with decorated cars, our parking lot had a big dragon bouncy house, and we were excited and nervous. Would anyone show up? And as it turns out, they did. We had a decent showing for people in the neighborhood. I was able to talk with many of those who I didn't know and hear about how they found out about the event, gave out our church stickers and info about who we are. With the leftover candy, we packaged up around 30 bags and passed them out around the neighborhood a few days later. We were also able to use the funds at Christmas to send out marketing info again to families nearby and to promote our Christmas Eve service as well. These funds helped to really jumpstart getting us to be thinking about how to better connect with those around us and actually promote things. You can plan an amazing event, but if no one shows up, that's no good. So we have now a decent rhythm of what things we need to be doing in order to get the word out. We started doing blood drives and have built up a new rhythm there. The Red Cross does a ton of promotion for you, and we've been able to get several gallons of blood donated that way. Every January, our building gets shut down on one particular Sunday due to a marathon that goes right by our building. We normally meet on Saturday night and then just don't have anything going on Sunday because, again, we physically can't get to our space. This past year, we decided to volunteer at the marathon, so we met on Saturday night for worship, and then a few of us crashed on campus and then got up super early and passed out waters to literally thousands of runners who go by our campus. I'm looking forward to continuing to build upon this as we now have a better understanding of what that event looks like. Instead of a yard sale this year, we opted to do a book sale. Similar energy and way less work. We used what learnings we had from previous events and advertised like crazy, and again, it worked. We had tons of people here, scouring our books looking for good deals. Rather than keep the money internally, we opted to give it to a local food bank we support, and they were able to help promote it as well. Many folks, when checking out, opted to round up their donation, and one person in particular was really excited we were doing this, as she had received help from them a few years prior. The American church is continuing to decline in her influence and continuing to be known for what she's against. Jesus calls us to be salt and light. I think that we're called to love our neighbors, to be a place where that love is shown in new and creative and tangible ways. Over the last few months, we've started to get more phone calls about when our service is. During Advent and Lent, we had a few people show up we didn't know. Even recently, we've had a newer person start to show up as they found out about our peace position and wanted to find out more. I'm looking forward to continuing in this outward reach, and I'm incredibly thankful for our denomination in helping to provide financial support and getting the ball rolling in much of this.